Okay, Tom Sherrod,
Yes.
Jason Whirling,
Here.
Sherry Waddington. Here. Chris Mailing,
Here.
Annette Salette,
Here.
Barb Rose,
Excused.
Sean Coakley,
Here.
Linda Carroll, Dave Waddington, Devin Johnson,
Excused.
2.
Elizabeth Collins Fix. Here. Tanya Frisry.
Here.
Larry Wren,
Excused.
and Bernie Seiler.
Here.
They're not going to be here.
If they don't call.
All right, looking over the month of April minutes. Corrections, deletions, if not, to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
First by Bernie, second by Beth, all in favor?
Aye.
We have a presentation and a guest. Nancy from Brandsetter Carroll is here to present the rec center project to you. The rec center survey, stakeholder meeting. Okay.
Brainstorming session. That's specific for today. I'm gonna move this over here. You can keep talking, Jason.
I don't know what to say, other than we've had several stakeholder meetings to this point, and we're very much looking forward to this one with all of you. We hope you will engage and give Nancy a lot of things to write on the whiteboard she has behind her.
So I'll do a little intro here. Thanks, Jason. I'm sorry. We didn't
rehearse, yeah.
We didn't rehearse at all here. So I'm Nancy Nozick from Brandsetter Carroll Architects. We are working on the initial planning for the potential recreation and community center for the city of Sandusky. Couple things we're doing. We're kind of in a citizen engagement phase, so we're doing many things to reach out to the community. There is a survey online. And you all just got a little sheet for tonight. It has a QR code on it. There's a poster in the lobby. The city has been doing a fantastic job of spreading the word about this survey. As of last Friday, we had over 2,400 responses to the survey, which is phenomenal. We do this in a lot of communities, and we're thrilled if we get like 900 responses, and we already have 2,400 responses from the city of Sandusky. So that's just fantastic. So that is feeding a lot of the information that we're considering for the planning for the facility. The other thing we're doing is stakeholder group sessions, which are intended to be kind of small group sessions with key people who have an interest in this particular project. We did 8 stakeholder groups last week that included a couple different ones with leaders in the community. We met with representatives from 3 of the foundations in the city, next door over here at the Erie County Foundation. We met with a group of high school students over at the high school. We met with a group of young kids at Mills in the after-school program, ranging in age from 5 to 12. So we're trying to get a cross-reference of just some smaller discussions to get a little more feedback and a little more conversation than we do just through the online survey. So that's what we want to do here tonight with you, treat you all, the rec board, as one of those stakeholder groups. And I'll just facilitate a little discussion. We are going to do some activities at Kids Fest. We have a little kind of engagement thing, casual thing, but we'll be set up there so that we can reach some of the community that way as well. And we just today talked about scheduling 2 more stakeholder sessions with some of the people who were invited last week and were not able to attend. So we're going to schedule 2 more for the week after next. So we continue to get some of that feedback. So you all just got a little piece of paper that has 3 very simple questions on it. What are the most important programs and spaces that the city of Sandusky should offer for community recreation? What challenges do you foresee in making the City Recreation Community Center a success? And are there opportunities for local businesses or organizations to participate in a community recreation facility? Those are just kind of leading questions. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Any comments you want to have, I'm going to write them down on the board, and we're just going to kind of document that. So I have back here a sheet for programs and spaces, and then kind of opportunities and challenges. Those seem to be the general category of what the comments, where they fall into. So I want to open it up to you all, anybody who's here, who wants to give us some feedback and give us things to consider.
I got a quick one.
Absolutely.
What do we have? I was happy to hear that you did 5 to 10-year-olds now, but what about people 50 and above? Because we have an older population in the city of Sandusky, and that's going to be who's going to be older for this. You know, what's going to be early on? Like, is there going to be looking at like a walking track or fitness area, you know, for even older people, or the hours, you know, something like that?
Yeah, we did meet with one of our stakeholder sessions was with the director of the Erie County Senior Center, and where was the other woman from?
Sue
She was-
Doherty.
Sue Doherty. Yeah.
I know, sir.
So representing some of the senior, it wasn't the people who participate in their program necessarily, but people who run those programs. So I don't know if there's an opportunity to reach out some of them, but we talked a lot about senior programming and, you know, as Chris likes to say, he wants this facility to be served from cradle to grave. And we want to serve everybody. You know, we want to have programs for real little kids. We want to have programs all the way up through the older adults that are in the community. So we have, there's some things kind of on this board. I don't know if you can see this. I didn't want to block the fire exit. And definitely an indoor walking track is very popular, again, for all ages, but especially for some of the seniors, as well as, Chris says, we've been doing some case studies. We've gone to 4 different facilities to kind of see what they offer and dig into their operations and revenues. And one of them was at Bowling Green, I think, had a sign up there that on their walking track, they have designated hours for strollers. So people can come with their strollers on the track and not get run over by other people. So you know, opportunities like that to serve everybody. So that's something you want me to put on the list, huh?
I'm just, you know,
Sure.
I'm just throwing out something.
No, and I think it's interesting too, Mr. Waddington, that of the 2,400 surveys, the indoor walking track is still number 1 with most requested amenity in this facility.
What I'm looking for is voter support, you know, on this. So a 5-year-old can't vote, a 15-year-old can't vote. You know,
Right.
this is all nice, but we got to go out in the community, and we are an older population in Sandusky. I think it's close, 47, 48, the average age in the city of Sandusky now. So we get them to buy in. That come from Sue Doherty.
I think the other thing to remember is, even though you've touted how many people have filled out the surveys and shared information, and a lot of people may share those same goals or things that are important. If you haven't done a survey yet, you still need to do it. I mean, they still need your input, and I think it's really important. It has been a great turnout, but the same token, you want as much information as possible. And even though, as people listen into this presentation, if your views align perfectly with whoever, please go ahead and fill out the survey. It really is quick. QR code's a piece of cake. It's quick and easy.
Yeah, and the survey is going to be active until June 5th.
Okay.
We need to cut it off because we got to keep, you know, make some decisions here and move forward. And we feel that we should be able to get a really good response in that time frame. So up until June 5th, please.
You know, one of the things that I always think is important is multifunctional spaces, whether it's for class, whether it's for a meeting, birthday party, whatever that space might be, that it has flexibility.
So I'm a tennis guy.
Okay.
I see a nice picture there of tennis courts. So obviously, I define spaces, I mean, you're talking spaces outside, inside, both?
Both.
Obviously, you're going to need outside space to incorporate a tennis court. I think the tennis court is going to be something that has got to be available to the city. I think more importantly, schools are looking for a tennis court. You know, you just have to look at the tennis courts we have. It certainly can be a huge excitement for tennis in Sandusky if this thing comes about. We look bad, you know, St. Mary's plays down at Battery, that's going to be gone. Am I right about that?
Probably in what, 2 years?
Yeah, give or take.
2 to 3 years.
I mean, it should be gone right now, but.
Yes.
And certainly Sandusky courts have, I'm going to be generous here, they've looked better. So I think as people come into Sandusky and play tennis, it could be just a huge, I'm involved with Northwest District Tennis, and I have influence. If we have a nice facility, we're going to be able to attract some tournaments. And so when we put up tennis courts, we're not going to put up 6 tennis courts. We're not going to put up 5 tennis courts. I guess we could, but if you're going to make it work for the community, for the schools, you got to have 8 tennis courts. That's the number. So I think that's pretty important. So you got to have space. I mean, you can't fit it in anywhere. It's got space is pretty important. And I don't know, you see soccer there. I mean, it's got to be something there for that as well.
Okay.
I was wondering if we're going to build more gyms,
More what?
gym space.
Gym space?
We've always had a
Indoor
shortage of
gym space, yes.
for sports. I joined this program for sports, that's why I'm here. Our baseball team doesn't do very well. The girls' softball doesn't do very well. We need place to practice, a batting cage that I think, why is everybody making a face at me like I shouldn't? You three are looking at her like,
No, I agree. I agree with you.
It's true. Our kids, our young kids are not being brought up in this environment. They get to play here for a little bit, then they get to go there for a little bit, then there's a lull where there's no playing at all. Then they get to the coaches and it's like the bad news bears have arrived. We need structure. There's a lot of kids on the streets out there that would be involved.
So do you want to list all the sports you think should
No,
be,
ma'am.
or is it everything?
No, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything.
Gym space is indoor space. There's never enough indoor space, indoor training space. You know, I know in the one picture they showed the indoor turf field, you know, or at least turf area. I won't call it a field, I'll call it turf area. You know, all of those indoor, because again, we live in a cold weather climate, and the ability to practice a lot of the sports that Sherry's talked about indoors is always vital. Gym space is always a premium. You know, our gyms are full 6 days a week, you know, and we have much more demand for gym space than there is gym space available, which I think everybody here kind of knows that, but it needs to be stated.
Good. Any other thoughts, challenges, opportunities?
The flexibility of time.
Flexibility of time.
You've got early morning for the seniors. You've got to be, when the Y was open, it was from 5 to 10, which is mostly seniors. And you've got to keep it open late, like 10 o'clock during the week, 11 o'clock maybe on weekends.
Yeah, to fit everybody in.
One of the things, Tom, that we have found out going out and visiting the 4 other communities, 2 of them have the 24-hour access to their fitness center. And the 2 that have it love it. Their membership numbers went up exponentially by implementing that 24-hour access, and then the other two don't want anything to do with it at all because of a liability reason. So that, part of that is the way that their current facility is laid out, and in order for them to make it so it's only accessible to the fitness center, it would cost them a lot of money to do those renovations. So that's why I think, but the liability piece too, I will admit is a concern of mine as well. But the two that we went to, Fremont in particular, they said that's one of the best things they've done is implementing that 24 hours access to the fitness center and walking track.
Chris, wouldn't you have to have certified workers? You just can't pay somebody $10 an hour to be at the counter. I mean, you gotta have,
There's not even anybody at the counter. They have a card access that they get in,
just on their own.
and they, on their own,
You're on
yeah.
their own.
There's cameras, and then it's interesting, talking to them, they tend to self-police, so he'll, they'll like learn the next morning, one of the people who were there say, yeah, well, such and so looked like, they might see something they didn't like, and they'll let them know. But that's the risk, is that, there's nobody there.
What about during the day? They gotta have.
Oh, during the day, yeah. It's just the after hours, the 9 PM to 6 AM time.
Because that's a concern of the commission, I tell you that, is who's working it, like who's gonna operate it.
You'll have different levels, you'll have different levels. There'll be folks that maybe just swipe in cards as they come in, or people that are doing programs, that sort of thing.
Right. And as far as the fitness area, I mean, you would look at, potentially personal trainers. And then even in one of the stakeholder meetings we were at, one of the groups that were there, their staff has to do community service hours. And they thought that would be a perfect opportunity for them because they have that certification that they could come out and help us with implementing, if it's personal training or if it's attending to athletic injuries, et cetera.
Don't they require like AED and CPR and all that? Somebody's
Absolutely.
gonna have to be on, training.
Absolutely.
Even
absolutely.
I could have my kids.
So it's strictly key card is what you're looking for?
No, that 24-hour access is key card.
Yeah.
During the day, it'll be, there'll be a reception desk, you'll come in, you'll check in,
But I mean, after hours, how do they get in? Key card.
The key card.
That's what I just
After
asked.
hours, yeah. That's how those two facilities operate.
If I can go back to the tennis courts,
Yeah,
you,
you want me to write it down like 5 times? Yeah, I can do that.
No, he
I
said
have something
Siler
to,
tennis
something
courts.
to add.
Good,
That's
good.
That's pretty important.
Yeah,
If you're gonna build tennis courts, you gotta have pickleball.
I
You gotta
do.
incorporate
Yeah.
Pickleball.
Yes.
So that's huge. So there's a couple different ways that you can do that. And I
agree with you, sir. I think one of the things about pickleball is, as it's evolved over the last, let's say, 10 years, I think one of the things is obviously there's a lot of existing tennis courts that have been different ways of converting those tennis courts into pickleball.
that's where I'm going.
Right, but I think the other part of that is I would venture to say that somebody's figured out the best way to have that tennis court / pickleball court be really functional compared to the retrofit that you have probably seen more than I have, different courts, different places. So, yeah, I mean, to me, those are synonymous, and if I'm not mistaken, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America right now?
No question.
Okay.
In our visit to Bowling Green, there was probably, 20 to 30 folks playing pickleball during the day. It was about 10 o'clock visit. and Indoors. They were playing on hardwood courts indoors that were
As
striped.
my partner has suggested, which he does that to me, there are basically 2 ways to incorporate pickleball into tennis courts. At the Huron courts, it's going to be interesting to see which way they go because they're redoing their tennis courts. But at the Huron tennis courts, which is public tennis courts, there's no kind of facility around it. There's nobody that's shadowing it or anything. They built the pickleball court into the tennis court. So the lines are pretty much into the actual tennis lines, and they use the tennis net, which is not true pickleball because the tennis net is higher than the pickleball net. I'm not sure how much, but it's definitely higher. So if you have pickleball courts at a tennis facility, or at a recreation facility, that's a positive because it's like what they have at the racket club, because you have access to nets. If you have outside facility that's unsupervised, then you can't put out these nets because whatever would happen to them. But if you have a recreation facility, then you're going to have someone there, and those nets are going to be available when certain things are available at the rec center. So what that does is that opens up to what my esteemed colleague here was talking about. When you paint the pickleball lines on there, you incorporate 2 pickleball courts into 1 tennis court. Whereas if you do it the other way, you only have 1. And it's certainly going to be important that pickleball is a part of it because, again, similar to having 5 courts or 6 courts, as is the 8 courts, pickleball courts have to be part of it or it's not going to be worth even putting them there. Like Sean says, I mean, it's only going to grow.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if, I'd like to see, not, which is kind of a sidebar to this, is you'd think it's somewhere, somehow they've come up with like telescoping nets that would crank up, crank down, or whatever. I mean, with it being as popular, there's got to be solutions to this situation that none of us have really maybe even seen yet. But like Barry said, the first thing is you got to have the lines. And you have to have it incorporated in your master plan of, this is important. And I would agree. I mean, the walking track, the pickleball court, the gym space, and then the multi-use of rooms. I think those are to me, those are the paramount 4 things. You don't need a just classroom. That's a waste of space. But a room that could be a classroom, that could be a tap fit room, that could be birthday room, whatever that looks like. That's not my area of expertise, but something that's multifunctional is huge.
Nancy, could I add, the holistic programs for kids, especially for like their mind, body, and soul. So I want to have spaces that we address mental health with our kids, activities like that, speakers that come in, programming that deals with our kids' overall mental health, emotional wellness, all that kind of things like that. Those things that are on the list now are a lot of sports and stuff, but a lot of kids don't do sports, and a lot of kids just need a place to be that doesn't involve that. So you can put the arts in there, any kind of music, song, dance, theater, art, all of that. But we're really seeing a lot of excitement with our youth that when it comes to mental health, they're excited about knowing about it and learning about it.
I'd be curious, Nancy and Chris, with some of the facilities you visited, some of the partnerships that they may have developed with different services. Like, do they have whether it be orthopedic, whether it be general practitioner, whether it be a therapist, do any of those, I guess I'll call it more of a community center, do they have space set aside for that?
There are some, not necessarily the ones that we saw, but there are some that have almost a little physical therapy mini hospital, where the actual hospital comes in and they are allocated specific amount of space. They pay for that specific amount of space. They operate out of that. But then that user can have access to the rest of the center, or when their, insurance stops paying for it and they're not able to go to the therapy room anymore, they can join the rest of the center. The interesting thing at Bowling Green, they have a collaboration, if you will, with the MRDD board. So there's actually a whole gym and bathroom space that is dedicated to that group. They pay for it, and they have exclusive use of that.
Wow.
And it was great because we were in there and there were little low kind of climby, stretchy things, and parents and kids were coming in to do these programs in the gym. So the downside to that is it was exclusive use for them. So the community didn't have use of the rest of that space, but it was great to have those other users coming in, because they may come in and go, oh, wait, there's these other programs we may be part of, even though, so it's a little cross.
I think that's
Reading that.
huge too, because we have ran into challenges where we want to be able to offer programming for all kids and all challenges that they may have. So there are, even in my own family, there are kids that don't come to my programs because of their special needs. They're just not fit.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we have space for the kids and families that have special needs and that have challenges, that they can still come and have fun and enjoy a program, whether it be with their parent or with a guardian or a para, and that there's trained staff on board for those populations.
And that's a very good point, Sean, because MBG, Nancy said, they paid for that gym, but because of the partnership that they have, when they're not utilizing it, the rec center gets to use that space. So they utilize it quite a bit, especially for their smaller youth programs out of there. So it's a great partnership. They also have something with the National Guard.
Right, if you've been to the Spire Center, which some folks here have been.
Yes.
Which is a huge complex. God, I wish that was not located there where it's at. But having said that, it's one of the things they had was some of the things we talked about. They had dedicated doctor spaces, and obviously that is on a grandiose scale, far and above anything we would build. It's larger, probably 3 times larger than the sports force. Spire is, but they use the concept of their facility where they had different partnerships with different entities.
Absolutely.
I don't want to keep going on.
You keep going on, that's great.
But there's a right way to put a pickleball court on a tennis court and a wrong way. So when you put the lines down, you got to do the right thing as far as blending. There's tennis purists that, really object to pickleball courts, but, if you're going to be realistic about it, you have no choice. So there's ways to put it on, there's ways not to put it on. So you definitely want to have it so it blends in. And the Racket Club is a perfect example of that. If you ever get into Sandusky's, the Court 1 out there, they did a beautiful job. And the original plan was to not have pickleball, but obviously they had to have it. And they researched it, and the lines kind of blend in, and it's a good way. There's good ways to do it and not.
Bernie, you're on the committee now.
Those
You're the
pickleball
man.
courts at Bowling Green were, the lines were actually on the hardwood courts. I don't think they had any tennis lines, they just had the
No.
pickleball
Yeah.
lines. Yeah.
Right, and I think,
So that you're saying they were purely pickleball courts? They were.
Yeah.
They were on
brought out
the
portable
basketball
nets. They
court.
put the portable nets out on the basketball court, yeah.
the
Yeah,
nice part is with
At the
pickleball,
portable
we don't have
nets.
to reinvent the wheel.
right.
It's grown so much that there's
Yeah,
lots of.
they play out sports. They have center indoors. But if you're going to play it outdoors, you're going to put it on the tennis court. So I'm done. I won't say anything more.
You can say whatever you want.
But piggybacking some of Sherry's comments about indoor space, and we talked about this before, is really looking at, the indoor turf, which, is utilized by different sports, very much like the indoor gym is utilized by specific sports, specific activities. And, in a perfect world, we could have both. At what trade-off, of course. But yeah, we could, I know those could be utilized heavily, and obviously some of the other things you mentioned.
Good. Any other thoughts? And I will, the paper you got says on there, you have any other thoughts after tonight, to email Chris. So this isn't your only opportunity. You can,
What's that end date again to fill out the survey?
June 5th
Okay,
is the last date to fill out the survey.
thank you.
And whoever, we sent the survey out per your request in April, and I think getting that on social and getting it out to all of our different channels helped get that boost of 1,800 to 2,000 in the first, I think, week or week.
Oh, yeah, the first weekend, I think from Thursday till Monday, we had 1,200 responses. So somebody's doing something right over here.
obviously
Good.
probably make one more push, like a reminder of, hey, this is still out there, please take a moment to do it, kind of thing.
Well, the schools have been very cooperative in doing it, especially Mr. Muratori, in getting that out to all your parents and guardians, so
Whenever
we
you,
appreciate that.
whenever you all think that we need to kind of put it out there.
Push it again.
Yeah, I think maybe the next 2 weeks should be good, just whatever.
Especially Samari on Newell was helping as well, get the word out.
Absolutely. But whatever you guys can do too, sitting around the table of pushing it out with family and friends, we appreciate all the information we can gather to build the right facility for our community. So
Right.
thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Can I add, for a challenge, I got like, the cost, location, and transportation on challenges?
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Are you asking where it's going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. That's part of the study, is to evaluate potential sites and do an objective. We have kind of like a little matrix that we've put together that has specific categories that will influence whether it's a good selection or a bad selection, and doing an objective analysis of potential sites.
Are we allowed to know the potential sites?
No,
Or just the rec board?
not yet.
No.
Oh, I want to add, a Edgewood Kitchen on there.
What'd you say?
Education?
Education?
Education,
Education?
education,
Yeah.
education kitchen.
EDUKITCHEN.
That was,
Making up a new word?
a word Jason Whirling came up with.
Nancy, I'm partial to a safety town space, for a permanent safety town. We've revitalized that back here in Sandusky. We're getting a lot of community support on that.
Good.
And Bernie would like some pickleball courts.
And some tennis courts. Selfishly, I would like fitness classes that are not when you're working. Like, I feel like
Evening.
either you have to get up
Morning.
at 5 a.m., which is not happening. But I used to go to Norwalk Rec Center all the time after work for like a 6 o'clock class or a 6:30 or a 7 o'clock class in the evening.
It's flexibility.
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
think that's part of the case studies you guys are doing with other facilities where they already can tell us, like, here's where it's real popular, here's where it's real quiet. And I think Tandra's, transportation is definitely, wherever the location falls, transportation is gonna be key to getting people there, depending on how we use our public transit. Work with serving our seniors and some of those other entities to get people to the facility. I think that no matter where it's located, that's gonna be,
Right.
a challenge for someone. But it's to minimize that is obviously the goal.
Any response for any weight room or weight equipment? I know I filled mine out the first day, but.
Yes, I think that's number 4, number 5 on
Yeah.
the results
That's
so
something you're
far.
gonna have to watch. I did that for prior, you wasn't around back in the day, but I did the weight room for 10, 11 years. And I'd leave it, after football practice, go home, come back the next day, 4:30 in the morning. It looked like turtles all over, 45-pound plates, all
All
the
over.
dumbbells scattered all over the place. Took me an hour to clean it up, and then, it's like, come on. That's gotta really have a strong monitor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's gonna be in there, but,
It depends what equipment you put in there too, like you said, Dave. Yeah, the more equipment you have, or the more free weights you have, the different type of supervision or hours that you're gonna need, because different things have different safety levels.
Absolutely.
You can't ride or come and bike safely, I'm not much help to you, but like Dave's talking about, all the free weights and different things you would do, there's a big safety component to that.
About locker room facilities, shower facilities, you're gonna have a family one.
Yeah, so we, any facility modern facility that we design, even if it's just restrooms, there is a family restroom, so kind of a single-use restroom, and then also in the locker room areas, there's, men's, women's, but then there's also some family locker rooms, so that it helps with, parents and kids, there's a lot of reasons to have those. So we always make sure that's kind of a minimum requirement. But it's not in the building code yet, but it is a standard practice.
And how about air conditioning? No, I'm just joking.
HVAC.
AC. No, but really like a young agronomist program would be great, teaching kids how to grow food, agronomist.
Agronomist?
Yep,
Spell that for me.
AGRONOMIST.
And EduGarden is what you're saying? And
Edu-garden, and it should be outdoor and indoor too. I mean, we can grow things throughout the winter. And
So are you thinking more of a greenhouse component to
kind
it?
of, yep, kind of sort of like, I had a young agronomist club, and these kids were really, they were awesome. And we harvested and we sold had our little farmer's market. But, and also, what was it, something else? It'll come to me.
It'll come to you. It'll come to you.
I mean, you can go in the QR code, put that in later. Email Chris.
You can email Chris. Because you never see him.
No, ever.
But and those are the kind of things that, the kids can be exposed to
I know what it was.
in the center and then take it home with them.
Yep,
It's
So at our, at Mills, we had that little program, the presentation with the youth there, and I remember one of the kids were talking about having a restaurant or some kind of, and some kind of.
Snack bar.
A snack
Kind of
bar.
like a
Kinda
snack
like
bar or
cafe.
something. Yeah, like a little cafe. So I think that would be, what do you keep tripping on over there?
there's a little, that ramp
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It's not just me. Gotta be careful.
Please.
All right, well, we want to be cognizant of your time. We appreciate letting us do this today during your meeting, taking over part of your meeting for this, so I appreciate it. And again, keep your eyes out, and any other thoughts, send them to Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stick around for.
I'm gonna stick
All right.
around. I'm gonna get this out of the way first, so I don't block the fire exit.
Chris, when will they do like something with the commission? They have any,
We will bring something to commission, probably the last meeting you have in June. Yeah,
About 6 weeks.
yeah, 6 weeks. It'll go quick.
Ready for vote?
about with putting it on the ballot, and all that?
That's why we're going to have it to you at the end of June with language that'll come along with that, for that,
It's gotta be in before August 7th.
yes.
I know I talked to Dennis about that a couple different times, but.
Old business? Chris, an update on Amvets
So
and
Amvets and Sproul, so just today, Annette's crew was out seeding the driveway, if you will, that goes between Peerless and the actual Amvets facility. So they planted seed there today and redid the soil earlier in the week for that. So that'll hopefully take, and we'll have a grassy area there. And then we continue to work on the infields in particular. There, we saw some low spots after this heavy rain, but we have some mix out there that will fill and get that up to speed and hopefully draining properly. And then the fencing company was out there today to do some touch-ups on the fence. And I know Mr. Klein was out with them. I wasn't able to attend that meeting, but Mr. Klein walked both fields with them, and he was pretty happy with what he saw. There was a couple minor things that they're going to come back for, but the backstops, and we still have to put the benches in the dugouts, and that should be about it. They should be ready to go, and the stone underneath the benches and the dugouts. Other than that, they'll be ready to play on for their season starting at the end of May.
Nice. I did have a request.
is if there was some way you could take a little bit of the money from the playground equipment and make permanent restrooms that can be bleached and cleaned and monitored instead of porta pots. And you've already heard it, but I said I would mention it.
No, I appreciate you bringing that up. So this is part of a 2-year plan, and we had a certain amount allocated for the project this year, and then money that will be allocated for the project next year as well. So the playground's already been ordered. We can't change the amount that we're spending on the playground, but we needed to replace the playground because, as you know, we took the playground out as part of the wastewater treatment plant project over at Sprout Park. So we wanted to bring a playground back to in particular, those that are using the baseball fields, but also the residents in that community as well, the surrounding park community.
And I just want to piggyback off of Chris. We will go ahead and in the fall, we will reseed the outfields as well. They do need that. We just couldn't do it now they wouldn't be able to play on them. So they will reseed those.
Any other questions about Amvets and Sprout?
We want to talk about the barriers.
Yeah, we do, and thanks, Annette, for bringing that up. We do have a minor challenge now. We have barriers up at both ends of the lane that I referred to that runs from Peerless over to the actual Amvet facility. Even with those barriers up, we still have a car or two that is trying to get around it and drive down there. So especially since we just seeded it today, we're looking at potentially putting in some permanent fixtures so they can't get around it with their vehicles.
Put a cement post in. That will stop.
There's an idea. Yeah.
Balusters versus.
They're almost, they're more than that.
Is that outside the fence? Is that behind the fence?
So between.
It was the access road, Bernie, that was between the fields.
Always been there.
It's not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
It will be
It's pretty
grassed
obvious that
area.
it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
We left enough room in there for Peerless to be able to have and take deliveries so they can turn a semi around, but you can't cut through anymore.
Can you still go around the back of the field and park in the outfield?
You, out in the left field area, the Amvets, yes.
So you took away some of the parking for the people that come to watch the games.
No, we didn't take
It's
away
still
any
good?
parking. No. Yeah, we just grassed the lane that was between the Amvets and Peerless Stove.
I'm going to go out and look at it, so you don't have to.
I'll meet you there.
I grew up playing down there. I played every day.
I know somebody else that used to play home run derby down there. They may or may not be around the table.
I play there a lot too, Si. A lot.
Sure, a lot.
All right, moving on that.
So I have given you guys the revenue comparison, and I've also given you the rounds numbers. Obviously, this year in April was probably one of our best. Our revenue was $32,635 in comparison to last year, which was $18,143.75. Now, obviously, January and February and even March, we were actually below last year's revenue, but with how well April we did, we are obviously ahead of last year's revenue by almost $14,500. So revenue-wise, I think we're fine. We're on target for May. I've been kind of monitoring that. It's been a little bit cooler, but we are still getting play. We actually opened league, our first league night is tonight. We have 20 teams, so, and we've actually moved them up a little bit in time. They are now 3:30 they're teeing off, which is allowing us to get some open play out after that. So we have that. And then I started our number of rounds. So the rounds in April this year were 1,269, and last year we were only at 979. So we actually had more round play. We are up to, and actually I sold 2 more, we're up to 89 passes right now. Last year we had a total of 107, but we're still early with that. Just a little update on the creek. We know that in March, we sustained a storm that had a large areas of erosion issues. Myself, Josh Schneider, the engineer here, met with Bree Holman and Eric Dowdrell from Erie Soil, and Jason was there. So we met today with them, looking at possibly doing a plan to assess the creek, to fix what we need to fix, and some of it may be immediate. We know we have an issue on hole number 8 by the green, and we're going to have to shore up that bank. If we don't, it's going to erode away into the green. So we talked about a number of ideas that we could do, talking about the island area, how we could maybe create that into something that is more aesthetic. We could maybe create some wetland to encourage habitat along the creek bed, which may allow us to be eligible for some more grant money. So we're looking at a number of different options that way. And we really did assess all the way from hole number 5 all the way down to 2, even past that point, looking at where, I know we've all talked, I know within our department, Jason and I we'd like to do a kayak launch on what we call at the golf course, the billboard area, right off of Tiffin Ave. But in some of the conversations, we had that conversation today about, looking at areas where, trying to create, why are we mowing areas that we don't use? So those, we're trying to be creative in how we can create some areas where we can bring in some prairie grass, et cetera, those types of things. Some of the issues with the creek bed is, and it was very good that, the turf going up to the edge of the creek, you have 4 inches of a root system there. And we really should have something that has deeper root systems that's going to hold in, so we don't lose that. So it was very positive. That was great. Josh and I are going to follow up with, Erie Soil is going to present just a recommendation on items that we could do, some possible grants that we could try to apply for. So we're going to just continue with that process. I would then want to bring that to our advisory committee that we have formed to work on that. And just a side note, I received a call from Erie Metro Parks today. We submitted 3 grants to them. We received 2. We received $6,472 to repurpose the old tennis courts at Venice Park and create 4 pickleball courts solely dedicated to pickleball.
I like it.
You like it? I knew you would like it. So, and Chris and I have been out at Venice Park quite a bit, looking at some other amenities that we need to address out there. So we're going to look at those as well.
No, there were tennis courts, I think.
Yeah, there was 1 tennis court, right? It's on Venice. It was back, as you're turning Dorn is on, yeah.
Okay.
So we were able to secure that. We're going to work in a.
You have my permission.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah, we're working in partnership with Thor Sport.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
a great idea.
So we know we're going to have a little bit of we have to assess some things out there. We did have, when it went to commission for approval to apply for the grants, we did get some interest from a few neighbors out there on how we're going to address some things, so some noise issues, et cetera. So we've looked at some, noise barriers with some screening for the fence, et cetera, those types of things. So we will evaluate all those things when we put the courts in.
Pickleball is louder than tennis.
Yeah. So, and then also, we received $1,000 for a bike repair station that will go out at Mills, the rec center at Mills, that we would then move to the new rec center. So we did receive those two things for that. And I want to wish Mr. Waddington a happy birthday.
Go.
Any
That's all I got.
questions?
What about the pathway?
Oh, the path.
Because a lot of the garbage are asking me.
Dave, as soon as I can get equipment on there, when it's solid enough, we are ready to go with that. So I already have that secured with the,
And that's
Street Department.
available for walking and
Correct.
long.
Correct.
When you got a decent day to
Yep.
go out there, so that's another outside.
yeah.
And when they do it, are they gonna do like one hole at a time, and maybe close that hole for the day, or what's?
Well, what they're going to do is the biggest expense for us is the renting the equipment to excavate for the trail. So we may do go through completely, and we think we can do it excavate everything in 2 days, is what they're saying. And as long as we can do that, it'll be our street department, along with our grounds staff, we'll be bringing in, and then we'll be bringing in the stone base. And then we opted to do the road grindings, and they'll roll the road grindings so that it's less, it's more appealing. It's not as, obviously it will stand out, so.
Bird watching the last few days down at the pathway on River Ave, I brought that up, I think, a couple months ago. Can we get that? That's city property. I found out maybe 15 years ago, from the pathway to the water, because everybody for years at the table, so I had to research that myself, told me that that's not our land. Well, it is our land, and that cell was from Jack Wolf. We did the cells, we had somebody from Metro work out there for like a year, we rebuilt that.
We're
That
looking,
path,
when we get more
going out-
stone,
Please?
when we get more stone, we're looking to put some out there as well. Yeah,
Because I know a lot of people still walk down there, and
especially
we had
now.
a ton of people down there for the bird watching.
And on a sidebar, when we met with Bree today, the area between 4, 5, and 6, where we have the grass, her recommendation is we do the prairie seed, if we do that sowing in the fall this year, so that we do create that as a true prairie grass area on 4, 5, and 6. So that would be her recommendation to us. And then with that, we have an interest from Erie Metro Parks to do some classes, whether it be with adults, with kids, to create some birdhouses so that we can plant them in that prairie area, that we can actually start introducing some of the species back to the golf course.
More birdies,
More birdies.
less bogeys.
Keep the coyotes away.
Any questions on the old business?
On a new business.
We're in the process of getting our summer guide together. It's something where we have to make some edits, and I will email that out to everybody once we have a draft of the programs that we have going on. Tandra's given me her changes for some things, and Annette's given me the golf camp changes. We are going to have the tennis camp coming back, and the summer break camp, and we've talked about the Foxborough, having the park program at Foxborough. But I know we're at 10 after 5, so I didn't know if, Tandra, if you wanted to have any updates on what you have there, but then we'll talk about the events too and getting into Juneteenth.
Yeah, so at Mills, the summer break camp at Mills, we have our special guest, of course, will be with mental health with Guidestone. We have an intergenerational art drawing class that we're going to be doing with serving our seniors. It was successful when we were at 222 Megs, but that was during COVID, and we had a small pocket of kids, but I'm looking forward for that. And the Now Mobile with Erie Metro Parks, again, is always a good guest for us. Those are weekly, and there's more. There's weekly things are happening for the 7 weeks of summer park program. And then at Foxborough, we're going to probably incorporate some pocket pop-ups with Erie County Health Department's mobile unit to give those kids some exposure out there to what all the Erie County Health Department offers. And the art classes will be going out there, and the Now Mobile will be going out there. Salvation Army, Sandusky Salvation Army will be taking the lead on feeding our kids lunches every day, 3 hots and 2 colds. So it's Monday through Friday, they get a free lunch. And this starts June 12th from 10 to 2. And it goes until July 28th, which will be the last day of any summer park program through the rec, but it also is the Community Collaboration Day. And that is going to move to Mills, Sandusky Rec at Mills Building. And it should be pretty exciting to have a lot going on inside, if it's not too hot, which probably will be, but we'll see. And then from 2 to 6, that'll be. So we'll have a lot going on out there, a lot of community outreach tables and some food trucks out there and some activities for our kids. And then the Juneteenth celebration is coming up soon down at Jackson Street Pier. I gave everybody a flyer. It's been posted. If you get a chance to read the Sandusky Register today, it talks a little bit about the guest speaker, our keynote, who has been trying to deliver this awesome message for the last couple of years, but I think we got it this year. His reconciliation story is pretty explosive as far as him taking charge and reconciling with the black family. It's a black Woodsons and the white Woodsons, so it's a very, very interesting story. So check it out in the newspaper or come down to Juneteenth. We'll be glad to have you there.
Awesome.
Monday, June 19th.
Monday, June
Yes.
19th, yeah.
Touch a Truck, first Tuesday in August. Safety Town is the following week, Monday through Friday.
And that special events calendar that you have, if you haven't seen the big letters draft, that is still in draft form, so please do not
Don't
post
pass
it
that
everywhere.
along.
Yeah. It's got our Movies by the Bay schedule. We've got that set, which will be Monday nights starting in late June. Party at the Pier schedule, the Lang Trust, which Juneteenth has the first Lang Trust show that night with Shining Star, which is Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute. Also has all of our 5Ks for the Rundusky series. We just had this past weekend, the Laughs with Lions, which had about 100 runners. And if you would have asked me what the weather was going to be like the night before, it's supposed to be like downpour, and the Lake Erie split helped us out. So we had 100 people running that event, and it went really well. So we're also going to be bringing some movies to the parks this year as well, which would be taking that screen into the neighborhoods and having some movies. We're trying to figure out the best logistical way to do that and what time would work best, but we'll keep you abreast of those.
Or
The big,
okay.
showing the Lion King at Lions Park is on the list. I know we've talked about doing that. Kids Fest, if we haven't brought it up again, it's the next Saturday from noon to 4. Looking to have a big event this year. Hopefully the weather holds for that as well, and looking forward to getting our summer going here. Any questions on the summer programming or summer events? Sean, I wanted to give you an update on the fishing tournament. I haven't gotten with Shores and Islands on how that sponsorship is gonna go yet, but I'll let everybody know once I can sit down with Chris and Cody from Shores and Islands, so we'll get that 2024 tournament moving. And I think that's all I had. Anybody else have items? Ironman is, yeah, July 23rd.
I want a shirt that fits this year.
We will get you a shirt that
They give me a
fits.
medium, I thought, man, thanks, I got my truck, man, I can't even wax my car with this.
Just want a large? Just a large? Large?
Remember it was-
Or medium? Do you want?
They get me a medium, he goes, here you go, give me a medium, I thought, man, I got a nice shirt, and I got my truck and held it up the shoulders about, oh, yeah, no, it ain't working.
All right, well,
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.